Today's guest tells us about her journey to creating an almost $1 million interior design business in what? 3 years. You're not going to believe it. Check it out. Hey kids, and welcome to Designed by Wingnut Social. I'm your host, interior decorator Darla Powell, and today's guest is none other than Liz Potarazu of LP & Co., an interior design firm, and, full disclosure, a Wingnut Social client. She has been in business 3 years, and she's pushing $1 million this year. And where does she get all of her clients? I guess you're going to find out. But hint, spoiler alert, she's a Wingnut Social client, and we do social media marketing for our interior design clients, so you could probably put two and two together, but we'll get to that. But before I get into my talk with her, you guys know the drill. I got to tell you a little bit about her. Liz Potarazu is the CEO and principal designer of LP & Co., a residential and commercial office interior design firm. Liz started her career in New York City in B2B sales before earning an MBA in San Francisco and pivoting into corporate marketing. Interior design is a second career for Liz, right? Like a lot of us, one filled with passion and purpose. Liz resides in Potomac, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C., with her husband and 3 young children. Wingnuts help me in welcoming Liz Potarazu to the show. Hey there, Liz Potarazu. Welcome to the show. How the hell are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing amazing, and I have to say, you look stunning.
Thank you. Thank you.
You really put yourself together for this show, and if you guys haven't subscribed to Designed by Wingnut Social on our YouTube channel, you need to run over there and just see how gorgeous Liz is right here for this silly little podcast, and I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Of course. Well, I'm a big fan of any kind of statement blazer. That's kind of that's my shtick. So
you're killing it. You're killing the yellow. You're killing the yellow blazer. So, full disclosure, Liz Potarazu. That's quite the name. We'll have to ask you what the origin is of that. You're a Wingnut Social client, right?
Yes.
And you've been with us for about 1.5 years now.
Yep.
And your work is so beautiful, and you're such a terrific client. I mean, you're what we call an ideal client. You just kind of let go and let Wingnut and let us run your social media for you. And you've had some really good success with that. And we're like, why the hell haven't we had her on the show yet? So here we go. Here's the remedy for that.
Here I am.
And you've been in business only 3 years, right? Are we going on 3 years?
This is my third year. We're starting the third year. So this is February. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of that third year.
Yeah, can you believe it? It's already February of 2024. It was just Christmas, I think, wasn't it?
Well, and then January lasted for at least like 3 months. So
yeah, it did, like half my life. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I love having guests like you on the show, because not only are you a client and we're seeing the growth of your business and your success internally, myself and my team, but designers with that kind of success within 3 years, I find incredibly inspiring, right? And motivating. And I think that your insight into running an interior design firm, because you do commercial and residential, can really help some of the listeners in the audience to glean from your experience and your advice. So we're going to dig into this conversation. But before we get in there, just tell us a little bit about how you started your firm a mere 3 years ago, what that looked like, and we'll dig in.
Yeah, so my background started out of college in B2B sales in New York City. So got that kind of business development acumen going. Didn't really like it. So ended up moving to San Francisco, and I got an MBA and pivoted into marketing. So I was working in marketing for Silicon Valley venture capital firm. And then moved back to Maryland, the Baltimore area, which is where I'm from, started doing some more financial services marketing, product marketing, had kids, and really took a step back from all of that. It just wasn't feasible for me to go back into the office 9 to 5. I had a husband that traveled, 3 little ones. And I started to think about, if I could do anything, what could I do? What would I do? And I've always loved design. It's always been something that I've loved doing for my own homes. And I had the opportunity to actually design my in-laws' house. So they were doing this entire gut renovation, adding this 2-story addition to it. And I said, yeah, I'll help. Why not? And it ended up being something that I really fell in love with and really became like a marquee project. And I started posting about it on Instagram before I had Wingnut. And so it was very, didn't look so great as it does now. But I started to pick up some clients that way. And then it kind of just became a thing. And I'm like, all right, I'm in business now. And what I've really learned here is that like all of those experiences that I had prior to starting this interior design firm has allowed me to really kind of make that success go a lot more quickly than usual, maybe.
That's right. I forgot that you had a marketing background. So that's amazing. That makes it super amazing that you hired us to do your Instagram and you've been with us for so long. So I guess we're doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for that. And also I have to say you're incredibly brave for taking on a project for your in-laws because right? And thank God it went well because woof.
No, that's true. Yeah. Well, I will say I'm a risk taker by nature. So, that was a risky move, but I did it.
but it paid off, right?
It did.
So you did that, right? And a lot of interior designers have entered the decorating and design business similarly, right? They've done their own homes or project for friends. They find they have an innate talent and it just they kind of fall into it almost kind of accidentally, right? So talk to me about that process of deciding to do it, for money, to go and, this worked out really well. I'm going to start a professional interior design firm because there's a lot of steps from doing that for the in-laws to having a full-fledged firm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I decided that this was something I really had a knack for and I was really enjoying myself, because I have that business background, I threw myself into the learning. So education and learning has been probably the most crucial thing that, again, has sort of springboarded my success. So I threw myself into learning SketchUp, into learning Chief Architect, started taking interior design classes through the New York School of Interior Design.
Nice.
And this was all happening, in the evenings whenever I could kind of fit it in. And then as I started to get more success and understand what these business models are looking like for interior design, I just started charging people and learning that way. So it's been a lot of research. It's been a lot of delving into the interior design Facebook groups and networking with other designers in the area and kind of learning by other people's mistakes, which I think has been super helpful for me.
So a lot of interior decorators, designers will start their own firm without the professional education side, right? You mentioned it. You went to the interior design school. You took the courses in SketchUp. How important do you think that was as far as impacting your business? As far as the product that you put out, how you're running your business, do you think that you could have done it without that?
I probably could have, but I don't think that my confidence would be where it is now. Because there is a lot of technical skill that's involved in interior design. Yes, of course, we have the eye and there is that innate talent there, but having that technical skill and being able to do those construction documents so that I can provide those to the contractors that I'm working with, that kind of gives me instant legitimacy. And also makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing by my client. So for me, having those skills were really crucial. Sure, could you pass without it? But I don't think it's the greatest way to go about it.
I agree, and I respect that. And when I had my firm, I didn't have any professional education. I started to enroll, and then I started to get clients, and I didn't have time to do it. And what I did was I hired people who did have the education. And I have a lot of people saying, hey, I want to start my own design firm. I saw that you went and you didn't have any professional training in it. Would you recommend that I do that or not? I always say yes. If you can and you have the time, I definitely recommend that you get the professional education to move forward. It just gives you, if you can and you have the time to do it, it makes sense, right? You should do it. I think you should do it. But on the other hand, there are a lot of really successful decorators who don't, but the workaround is to hire people who do, like I did as well. So your mileage may vary, but I applaud that. So while you were going to interior design school and learning all these courses, were you also working with clients, or no, you wanted to do all that first and then go?
No, I was definitely a little bit of learn by fire and mistakes and figuring it out on the job. And then also, supplementing with the actual skills needed. And a lot of just practicing. I have ADHD, so I can hyper focus on that stuff sometimes. And and I will be singularly focused. 10 p.m. I was playing in SketchUp. So that's kind of how I made it work.
Yeah, I get complaints from my wife all the time. She's like, it's after 5 o'clock. Can we not talk about the business?
Like, no, absolutely not. I have to. I have to.
I know it's a very difficult boundary to learn. Okay, so professional development besides the school and the SketchUp and the chief architect. By chief architect, man, I hired someone to do that. God bless you. What else have you done that you think has made an impact on a professional way as far as continuing education, et cetera, in the success of your firm?
Yeah, so I've done the standard with Sandra Funk.
Amazing course. I've taken that.
Yeah, that was very comprehensive. I did design for construction with Jenny Slingerland, which is through Luann University. I've done renovation management for interior designers with Renee Beery. I've done a little bit of pricing work with Cheryl Clendon and Keys. So there has also been, and then also just some other SketchUp and chief architect courses that I've taken here and there. So I really have continued to understand not only the technical skills, but also the business background that goes into interior design, because we do have a really complicated business model.
Sandra Funk's the standard. I took that pretty early on. It's a little overwhelming. I don't know if she's pared down at all. Probably not. It's probably even more so. But it's packed with so much information. She's a good friend of mine too. I'll have to tell her she's in the show. She has a shout out. And Luann Nigera, of course, Luann University is Luann Nigera's well-designed business over there, if you guys check that out. And Cheryl Keys Clendenin has been on the show as well. She is a business coach. And what was the other one you mentioned? I'm not familiar with her.
Renee Beery. So it's Devanier Design.
Devanier
Design,
yes.
yeah,
Okay.
like
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Renee Beery. Okay. Yes. I am familiar with her. And I'll let you refresh my recollection. That's amazing. Okay. So can I ask you at the 3-year point, what is the scale of your firm? Like, how busy are you? What does your team look like?
So I am very busy. Right now I am a solopreneur, although hopefully very soon that's changing, because I'm kind of at a point where I can't take anymore. But I do outsource. So like we talked about earlier, I run all my social media through Wingnut Social, which is, God, such a blessing. Like, I just have that taken off my plate, because that's such a bear. And even like, for a mental health situation, like, it is good to be off Instagram if you're an interior designer, especially when you're new. So that is a huge, just weight off of my plate. So that is farmed out. I have a PR person, obviously accountant. I have a virtual assistant that I work with. So I do try to farm some of that stuff out for sure. But yeah, I'm kind of at a point where I definitely need to have somebody come on board. But in terms of, so I do both commercial office and residential. And I think, this year I should be at about like the $1 million revenue mark. So, I'm
after
growing.
3 years. Wow. And where are you finding you're getting most of your clients or referrals? Where are they coming from?
Definitely Instagram. So thank you, Wingnut.
You're very welcome. That makes my heart happy to hear. I love it.
And then in terms of and then also just word of mouth has been helpful. Also other designers. So I created a little mastermind group of local interior designers, and we try to meet, every 6 weeks or something. We kind of took a big hiatus during the fall, but we're starting back again this Friday. But I've had an interior designer, refer me a project that she was too busy to do. So that's another avenue. And then the commercial side is me kind of like hitting the pavement and trying to talk to commercial real estate people. And then also that's word of mouth too.
I love that. Well, you're a little bit of a hustler too. You know what else is great for commercial is LinkedIn, is going in and, making those connections with LinkedIn. We have a lot of clients on LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn with us? Sorry.
I am. Yeah, but I haven't done too much. Yeah, no, I am. I just haven't done too much of it, which that is something I need to, once I have some help, then I can start to explore some of those other things.
I know our primary channel for you has been Instagram. So, but LinkedIn as well. That's something we should talk to Alexandra about.
Yeah.
Is beefing up your LinkedIn. Okay. So professional development, of course, is very important, because we want to make sure that when we're designing homes for our clients, or you're doing commercial spaces, especially, there's so many codes and everything, that you have the knowledge to do right by your clients, as you said before. But let's talk a little bit about your personal development and how it's impacted your business, because you're very driven, right? And we've talked about you have ADHD, and sometimes those work-life boundaries kind of can get in the way because we're so focused, right? We're so driven with that. So tell me how you've learned to balance that with your personal development.
Yeah, so I think the personal development has almost been a necessary thing that I've done, in part because of the ADHD. I think that I've needed to kind of figure out ways to be more productive and to not hyper focus so much, and to, be able to do all the things that a business owner does. But the personal development has really just been able to shift mindset. And shifting mindset has made such a huge difference in the way that I approach my business, the way that I approach clients, the way that I approach pricing, and just the way that I approach what I think I'm going to be when I grow up in terms of an interior designer. Personal development for me is, also I love that stuff so much. I think it's really interesting. I'm like a big self-help book junkie.
Me too. Yeah.
But yeah, to me, that's everything.
So tell me about that. I'd like to hear about what steps you've made and what improvements you've made in your mindset. What was it, at the beginning of the onset, what were you struggling with, and what did you do, and how has it improved?
Yeah. So I think one of the first coaching things I did was with Mel Robbins, who also has a podcast. I love her.
Yes,
I think she's awesome. She's a fellow ADHDer, diagnosed late in life like me. And I just find her to be incredibly inspiring. And I coached with her through a 6-week program that she launched. And it was really just picking a project that you wanted to work on and using neuroscience, like backed habits and the way that you can actually approach the project. It was maybe like 15 minutes a day, and being able to see the results in the 15 minutes a day, like moving forward, I thought was just incredibly confidence boosting. And I think really the learning to do hard things and the putting yourself in situations that are uncomfortable, like therapy, for example. Therapy I do every week. I find that to be incredibly important for self-reflection and also changing some of those mindsets that I've had. But I think the confidence piece is probably the biggest mindset shift. Starting a business when you're in your late 30s or however old you are, starting a second business that you don't know much about and throwing yourself into, like that's imposter syndrome 101. And learning to get that confidence is a huge game changer.
You just launched your business on September the 1st.
Yes.
So tell me how the Instagram for Designers course has helped you with that, and what kind of ROI you've received from that already, because I think it's pretty big, right?
It is. Yep. And I've had really great engagement since launching my page, and I've had a ton of leads come in, and I've landed some pretty big projects for spring of 2024. And I really don't think I would be here today if I didn't take this course.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
100%.
That is incredible. How many leads are you getting from Instagram? How is, what does that look like for you on a weekly or monthly basis? 1
to 2 per week. Every single one of my leads have come from Instagram. There's so many things that I wouldn't have known to, improve my search engine optimization on Instagram.
So that is something that you struggled with in the beginning, was having the confidence and the imposter syndrome. Oh, can I do this? We all struggle with that. Even now, from time to time, we struggle with that. That's something you've seen a great improvement in. That's something that you struggled with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as a part of that, I also have this wellness routine that gets to be, I'm basically putting myself in difficult situations in this kind of wellness, in the name of wellness, and which makes no sense. But basically, I'm training myself to do hard things. And whenever we are doing hard things and we're finding success through the consistency, that's how we're building that confidence. And that's the same thing as a business. Like a business is a drudge. It's like you're trudging like through mud a lot of the time, and it's boring and you have to be consistent. And it's not all like, oh, I'm just designing pretty things and what's posted on Instagram. Like there's a lot behind it that's hard. And there, are slow down times where the phone's not ringing and it's crickets, and you need to have that confidence and that, wherewithal to know that I can get through this hard thing and I'm going to find success no matter what that looks like. We're creating and we're changing our brain. It's like neuroplasticity to be able to look for the opportunities and feel confident that we can trust our intuition to take those risks.
All right, so talk me through your wellness. What does that look like? What are some of the hard things?
So the hardest thing is when my alarm goes off in the morning.
Do you count to 5 and then hop out of bed like
So
Mel Robbins says?
I do actually. So I used to hit snooze all the time, but I would still wake up early, but I would hit snooze a million times.
Same.
And so I stopped hitting snooze. I wake up. It's so hard. It's so hard. I do lay there for like 10 minutes. I'm like, get out of bed, get out of bed, get out of bed. But then I do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I sort of slink myself out of bed. So I'm up around 5:15 really early. And I do some sort of movement, whatever that might be. Usually it's a workout for half an hour or so, or I, do a little stretching, or I dance like a weirdo in my room by myself, whatever it is to get my body moving. And then the hardest part is I do a cold plunge every morning. So I immerse myself in freezing cold water for about like 4 to 5 minutes. And it is awful for the first minute, but after you're out, it really is this like euphoria high feeling once you're not freezing to death anymore.
I've heard that increases your dopamine and your concentration. I don't know that I could do that though. Do you have one of those things at the house, like a cold plunge thing at the house?
So I actually just ordered one. It's in my basement right now. We're doing a wellness room in my basement that's going to have an infrared sauna and a cold plunge tub. But they have to like tile it up and do all the construction in the basement. But I'll be revealing that on Instagram if anybody wants to follow me along.
I'll look forward to that.
Yeah,
I'll look forward to seeing that in the in our software management to see. Oh my God. I can't even take a cold shower. I said, well, maybe because I listen to Andrew Huberman and he's like, take a cold shower and it spurs dopamine. And I'm like, no.
You can do it. You can do it. I promise.
That is a hard thing.
Yeah.
What's another hard thing that you force yourself to do in order to grow?
I mean, I think it's really just the consistency piece. Like the consistency is the hard part. It's easy to feel motivated. And, at the beginning of the year, we make some kind of resolution and we say, we're going to, press forward and do that. But that wears off. And the hearing the alarm at 5 o'clock in the morning, that's the hard thing. I also try to force myself to go for walks, even if I'm crazy busy, and get that sunlight in my eyeballs, like Huberman says.
Sure. Photons.
Yeah, exactly. And, therapy, that's hard work too. Really digging into understanding myself more and, changing those mindsets. Again, like just forging through with that wellness routine, those difficult things that builds the confidence.
Now, you mentioned, of course, that you took Sandra Funk's The Standard, and we talked a little bit about mindset. How does that apply to your pricing, right? Because a lot of solopreneurs, especially women for some reason, in this business, we really struggle with raising our rates, raising our pricing, and I know Sandra's huge on that. Did you struggle with that, and where are you at with that?
I'd say in the beginning, I struggled a little bit. Also, I didn't have the chops. Like I didn't have the skill to back up what I was wanting to charge. So
that's a factor.
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
a factor. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair.
I agree.
But I think as of late, one of the things that Cheryl Clendenin says is, I'm not pricing my value. I'm worth $1 trillion. What I'm pricing is I'm pricing what I'm providing, like the product and the service that I'm providing. And if you think about my clients who are mostly successful business people who are too busy to deal with a renovation or too busy to deal with their company moving into a new office, I'm creating incredible value because they're not having to do any of it. They're not having to lift a finger while I'm taking on the entire project. And that is really invaluable. I mean, to be honest, I could probably be charging more than I'm charging at this point.
Yeah, that's next, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's next. So after this, I'm raising my rates. So thank you, Darla.
Hey, anytime. Yeah. Sandra Funk is also big on flat rates. Have you incorporated that as well?
Yeah, flat fee has been something that I've done from the very beginning. I know as a consumer, I don't want to be billed hourly. Like I don't want to see an invoice every week. That sucks. Yeah, So yeah, I'm a flat fee all the way.
So what did that journey look like? Because that takes a hot minute, especially if you've only been in business for 2-3 years. I don't know when you started to do that, to have the experience to know what the scope of a project is going to take in order to do a flat rate. How long did that take you to get a handle on, and what tips do you have for that? I
mean, I'd say truthfully, I probably lost money in the beginning, especially because I was slower, so also you get better. Yeah. So that helps. But I think it really is looking at what I did at the beginning was kind of try to estimate how many hours I think it's going to take to source this sofa or to, source this tile or whatever it might be. And then just add like 20% to that. So whatever it is, just add on that buffer. And I think that has been good. I know Sandra Funk does the square footage, which I kind of double check using the square footage. So I have a rate per foot that I figured out based on what industry standard is in the Metro DC area and designers of, the same amount of experience. So I kind of double check those off of each other, and they usually end up being about the same.
Nice. Yeah, that was a little bit of a learning curve for me with my firm. And what we ended up doing, because in the beginning I didn't have enough experience to do a flat rate as well. And probably I didn't pay attention in class like I should have with Sandra's ADHD. Sorry, Sandra, I love you. So we ended up going to a hybrid model. It was, we did a flat rate, and then we made really sure that anything outside of the scope or anything that took extra long, so many revisions that we charged hourly for, kind of cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that helped a lot for there. Okay. So you did mention before that you learned in the Facebook groups from other designers' mistakes. So I know there's no way that you haven't made your own in the 3 years that you've been here. And if you haven't, God bless you. But what mistakes have you made that you can share with us that the audience might benefit from hearing so they can avoid those?
I think one of the biggest mistakes is not doing due diligence around a vendor or a subcontractor that you use.
Yeah.
I've been burned with a woodworker before where we were doing a window seat. It was completely off. Like the measurement was completely off. The client was pissed. And, I end up eating it in the, financially so that I can have my contractor that I trust come out and fix it. And the doors weren't closing and shutting the way that they're supposed to work. And I think really me not doing that due diligence and making sure that I talk to other people that have worked with this woodworker before, because I would have learned that if I would have done the due diligence behind it. Working with a bad vendor and not doing your research, that's definitely a way that I've gotten burned. I've made mistakes on sizing of things before and, had to eat that. I think that's probably pretty common in interior design. And I think I've made mistakes in maybe sometimes overpromising and potentially under-delivering, particularly as it relates to time frame and the pricing of what it's going to actually take to accomplish the vision of the room, which is something that I've gotten much better at. And I also implement a minimum expenditure model and do Sandra Funk's exercise of kind of pricing out the project at the onset so the client knows what we're looking at. Yes. I think that really helps because it's always easy to say like, oh, your room's going to be $30,000. And it's like, actually, it's more like 90. So,
Yeah.
So, those are the mistakes that I make.
I'm feeling all of this.
Yeah.
I did all of that. We had a vendor with Darla Powell Interiors, and I needed like a upholster, and I needed it quick. And this particular vendor happened to be available and did terrific work, but was a little, I don't know, maybe not from this earth. And it was a really bad overall experience. And if I had gone and maybe researched that vendor a little bit more, I could have avoided a lot of expense and tears.
Yes.
So I definitely appreciate that. And I for sure have been like, I think this timeline, it could be done in this timeline, not having the experience, in the beginning and having to eat that too. Yeah. So for sure. Yeah. So, always, under promise and over deliver, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Learn my lesson for sure.
For sure. So Liz, is there anything that I've forgotten to ask you that you think the audience needs to hear before we get into the What Up Wingnut round?
I would say that from my perspective, I know we talked a little bit about the personal development and the professional development side of it, but professional development is obviously important. We want to get that foundation laid. But what's really important is to do that personal development on top of that so that you're thinking critically and you're able to build on that foundation based on you. Because we are the business owner, and understanding myself and my unique skill set and my unique quirks and my mindsets really helps to then sort of springboard off of those foundations that I've learned from the standard or for design for construction or whatever that might be. So learning about yourself so that you can think critically about that professional development that you're doing and make it tailored to your business.
Amazing. Well said. Now, Liz Potarazu, I have to ask you, are you ready for the What Up Wingnut round?
I've never been more ready.
What would the hashtag on your tombstone be?
Hashtag curious.
I love that. You're stuck on a deserted island, but you can have your one favorite food forever. What is it?
A caprese salad, but like with the burrata, like the creamy mozzarella, and then like Campari tomatoes and the olive oil and the salt and pepper. Oh, so good.
That's why you're in such great shape. You're not saying pizza or hamburgers, Lord Debbie cakes. God bless you. And last but not least, please recommend a book that's impacted you either personally or professionally.
So I used to teach yoga back in my 20s.
Makes sense.
It makes sense. It does make sense. As part of our yoga teacher training, we had to read this book called Anatomy of the Spirit by Caroline Myss, M-Y-S-S. And it was really, really interesting. It had to deal with our body systems and the chakras and how our mindsets and our emotional traumas and psychological stress can really start to create actual illness in our bodies. But then it also really tied in like Hinduism, Christianity, and Kabbalah. And it was really a fascinating way to look at our bodies and our minds and how everything is just so connected.
That sounds amazing. I would like to read that. What was the title again?
It's called Anatomy of the Spirit.
Anatomy of the Spirit.
And
all
Caroline
right,
Myss, M-Y-S-S.
Caroline Myss, not the mouse, but the mice. Liz Potarazu, thank you so much for joining us. Please tell the audience where they can go to find out more about you and LP & Co., and we'll call it a day.
Thanks for having me. So you can find me on Instagram at LP & Co. Design. My website is I sound like an old person by saying that. I just said it out loud. lpandcodesign.com.
www.
Yeah. I grew up when we had AOL and it went
I did
before
too.
you logged in. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Liz, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being a Wingnut client. You're so inspirational. And I know that the audience is like, I'm going to be Liz when I grow up, when we figure out what
Yes.
we're going to be when we grow up, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, kids, I certainly hope that you were inspired by Liz's story just as I was. And if you're kicking around starting your own interior design firm, that some of her information and journey has been helpful to you in the course of action to take and, that fits you and suits you for sure. And if you're interested in getting clients from your Instagram marketing or your social media marketing like Liz does, who is a Wingnut Social client again, head on over to wingnutsocial.com and click that little Let's Chat and let's see how we can work together to help you grow your brand as well. Liz, we're so proud of you and what you've managed to accomplish in a short 3 years. And thank you so much for being a Wingnut Social client. We absolutely love you. You're an ideal client for sure. Let go and let Wingnut is what we like to say. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Again, wingnutsocial.com. If you need help with marketing your interior design firm on the socials, it is a bear. It is a lot. It's a huge job. And to have that off your plate is a great relief, and to have it done well and not to worry about it helps you to focus on the big picture, being the rainmaker, just like Liz did. Okay, remember, until next time, to get out there, get uncomfortable, and be great. We'll see you next time. Hey kids, and welcome to Designed by Wingnut Social. I'm your host. What is my name? Interior design is a second career for Liz. I'm sure some of you can relate to that out there. One filled with passion and purpose. She resides in Potomac? I feel schmutzy. All right, guys. I already said that's it for next week.